The Nigerian Civil War, a brutal conflict etched into our nation's memory, left deep scars. It was a time of immense suffering and upheaval, a period that tested the very limits of our collective endurance. From 1967 to 1970, brother fought brother, tearing at the fabric of our young nation. The war pitted the Nigerian government against the secessionist state of Biafra, leading to a devastating humanitarian crisis. The war was sparked by secessionist movements, primarily in the southeast, which declared the Republic of Biafra. This declaration was driven by ethnic, political, and economic tensions that had been simmering for years. Amid the chaos and bloodshed, a new currency emerged, the Biafran pound. This currency was more than just a medium of exchange. It was a symbol of Biafra's struggle for independence and self-determination. This symbol of Biafran independence would later become central to the controversial £20 policy. The Biafran pound represented hope for some, but for others it was a reminder of division and conflict. The war ended with the defeat of Biafra and a nation yearning for peace and unity. The Nigerian government declared no victor, no vanquished, aiming to foster reconciliation and healing. But the road to recovery was paved with complex challenges, including the question of what to do about the Biafran currency. The war had left the economy in tatters, and the government needed to find a way to stabilize the nation. This question would lead to the implementation of the £20 policy, a decision that continues to spark debate and stir emotions even today. The policy was intended to integrate the Biafran economy back into Nigeria, but its execution was fraught with controversy. The war had shattered Nigeria's economy, leaving its people grappling with poverty and uncertainty. The scars of conflict were visible everywhere, from the destroyed infrastructure to the displaced families struggling to rebuild their lives. The government faced the daunting task of rebuilding infrastructure, restoring faith in the national currency, and reintegrating millions of displaced people. The £20 policy was one of many measures aimed at achieving these goals, but it was met with mixed reactions. The £20 policy, while presented as a solution, would become a source of contention, with many, particularly in the former Biafran region, viewing it as a symbol of injustice and economic marginalization. The policy allowed former Biafrans to exchange their Biafran pounds for Nigerian currency, but only up to a limit of £20, regardless of how much they had. The scars of war ran deep, and the £20 policy became entangled with the pain, loss, and resentment that lingered long after the guns fell silent. For many, it was a reminder of the sacrifices made and the long road to true reconciliation and healing. The Biafran pound was more than just a currency. It was a symbol of resistance and self-determination for the people of Biafra. Introduced during the Nigerian Civil War, it was a beacon of hope for a people yearning for independence. It represented their hope for an independent nation, free from what they perceived as the oppression of the Nigerian government. The currency was a tangible manifestation of their aspirations, a daily reminder of their fight for freedom. During those tumultuous years, the Biafran pound became a powerful symbol of their identity and struggle. It was used in markets, exchanged in daily transactions, and held close by those who believed in the cause. However, with the end of the war, the Biafran pound lost its value. The dream of an independent Biafra was crushed, and with it the currency that had once held so much promise. It became a painful reminder of a lost dream and a shattered homeland. The currency that once symbolized hope now represented loss and despair. The Nigerian government, eager to reassert its authority and unify the country, declared the Biafran pound illegal. This move was part of a broader effort to erase the remnants of the secessionist movement. This decision, while understandable from a political standpoint, had significant economic implications for those who had held on to the currency, believing in the promise of Biafra. The sudden invalidation of the Biafran pound left many in financial ruin. Many Igbos, who had invested their savings in Biafran pounds, saw their wealth vanish overnight. The currency they had trusted became worthless paper, adding to their suffering. This sudden loss of wealth added another layer of suffering to the already devastating consequences of the war. Families who had already endured so much now faced the challenge of rebuilding their lives from scratch. The fall of the Biafran pound marked not only the end of a dream, but also the beginning of a new struggle for economic survival. The people of Biafra had to find new ways to sustain themselves and their families, navigating a post-war reality that was fraught with challenges. In the aftermath of the war, General Yakubu Gowon, then head of state, sought to mend the fractured nation. His administration implemented the 3 R's policy: reconciliation, reconstruction and rehabilitation. This policy aimed to reintegrate the Igbo people back into Nigeria and rebuild the war-torn nation. As part of this reconciliation effort, the government introduced the controversial £20 policy. This policy dictated that every adult Igbo who had held a bank account before the war would receive only £20, regardless of their previous balance. The government argued that this measure was necessary to curb inflation and stabilize the Nigerian economy, which had been battered by years of conflict. They claimed that releasing large sums of money into the system would lead to hyperinflation, further impoverishing the nation. The £20 policy was presented as a necessary, albeit painful, step towards national healing and economic recovery. However, for many Igbos, this policy felt like a second blow, a confiscation of their hard-earned wealth. The £20 policy, instead of fostering reconciliation, ignited resentment and sowed the seeds of distrust between the Igbo people and the Nigerian government. Section 4. Awolowo's rationale: economic stability or political strategy. Chief Obafemi Awolowo, a prominent Yoruba leader and the then Federal Commissioner for Finance and Vice Chairman of the Federal Executive Council, played a pivotal role in shaping Nigeria's post-war economic policies. Awolowo, a brilliant economist, argued that the £20 policy was essential to prevent economic chaos and hyperinflation. He believed that releasing vast sums of money into the system without proper control would cripple the fragile post-war economy. Awolowo's critics, however, viewed the policy as a deliberate attempt to cripple the Igbo people economically. They argued that the policy disproportionately affected the Igbos, who were known for their entrepreneurial spirit and had amassed significant wealth before the war. The £20 policy, they contended, was a form of economic punishment designed to keep the Igbos financially dependent and subservient. This perspective fueled accusations of ethnic bias and further deepened the divide between the Igbos and the Yoruba people. The debate surrounding Awolowo's role in the £20 policy continues to this day, highlighting the complexities of navigating the economic and political realities of a post-conflict society. Section 5. Stories from the rubble experiences of ordinary Nigerians. The £20 policy had a profound impact on the lives of ordinary Nigerians, particularly the Igbos, who were struggling to rebuild their lives after the war. This policy, implemented by the Nigerian government, meant that regardless of the amount of Biafran currency an individual possessed, they could only exchange it for a maximum of £20. This was a devastating blow to many who had already lost so much during the conflict. Many who had worked tirelessly to build their savings saw their dreams shattered as their life savings were reduced to a mere £20. This was not just a financial loss, but a loss of hope and security for the future. The policy was seen as a punitive measure, further marginalizing a community that was already struggling to recover from the ravages of war. The policy caused widespread hardship and resentment, forcing families into poverty and making it extremely difficult for them to rebuild their lives. Families who had once been self-sufficient found themselves relying on aid and the goodwill of others. The psychological impact of this sudden impoverishment was profound, leading to a sense of despair and helplessness. There were stories of successful businessmen reduced to peddling wares on the streets, their dignity stripped alongside their wealth. These individuals, who had once been pillars of their communities, were now struggling to make ends meet. The loss of their businesses and the respect they had earned over the years was a bitter pill to swallow. Others spoke of their inability to access funds to rebuild their homes or send their children to school. The lack of financial resources meant that many children were unable to continue their education, further perpetuating the cycle of poverty. The dreams of a better future for the next generation were put on hold, as families focused on mere survival. The policy exacerbated the already existing economic disparities in the country, pushing many Igbos further down the economic ladder. The economic divide between the Igbos and other ethnic groups widened, leading to increased tensions and feelings of alienation. The sense of injustice was palpable, as many felt that they were being unfairly targeted and punished. The 20-pound policy, instead of fostering unity and reconciliation, created a deep sense of injustice and sowed the seeds of distrust between the Igbos and the Nigerian government. The policy was seen as a betrayal, a stark reminder of the divisions that had led to the conflict in the first place. Efforts to rebuild trust and unity were undermined by the lingering resentment and economic hardship. The stories of hardship and resilience in the face of adversity serve as a poignant reminder of the human cost of conflict and the long-lasting impact of economic policies on ordinary citizens. Despite the challenges, many Nigerians showed remarkable resilience, finding ways to rebuild their lives and support their communities. Their stories are a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the enduring hope for a better future.